And we're here. Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
Hello, Bobbie. Good evening and good morning to everyone.
Hello, Bobbie. Hello.
Hi, Adam. I am so excited to have you here with us. Tracey, tell us about Adam. Well, I'm going to kind of jump ahead. Adam, love you. I've read your frequently asked questions. You are the man. So for all of you out there watching tonight, he's a realtor and he's got it going on. So listen close. I already shared with you guys earlier that we're bringing one of the top Australian realtors on tonight to ask questions. So I'll be watching for your questions on the Facebook Live feed, and they'll be talking. And just introduce yourself, right? Here we go.
Okay, thank you, Bobbie, for the introduction. Hello, Tracey. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been in real estate selling land as well as apartments and houses for over a decade now, mainly in the inner city of Brisbane. It's something that I love doing. I wake up every morning excited about it. I get to meet great people and love my job. I have a team that work within my business. We call ourselves the Adam Nobel team, and we pride ourselves on excellent service. It's something we're very passionate about, and we pride ourselves on getting the best possible prices for our clients. We've seen all sorts of cycles in that 10 years, and we're very proud to say that we continue to get premium prices for our clients all the time, which is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to answering questions from anybody today, and it's a real pleasure to be here. So thank you, Bobbie and Tracey, for inviting me.
And which part of Brisbane are you in, Adam? Where are you selling in?
So our office is based in South Brisbane, which is 1.5, 2 kilometres from the CBD, from the city, and it's a great area. We've got West End, Highgate Hill and South Brisbane all in the 4101 postcode, and some of the best things in Brisbane are here. So we've got the Gallery of Modern Art, the Queensland Performing Arts Centre. In the area that I love very, very much, West End, we've got more creative industry employees and staff than any other suburb in Australia. So it's a very creative place. A lot of really interesting people and a great feeling of connection with the people that live in the community here, which is something that I love very much. We've also got something that I love very much, which is great coffee. In West End, we've got the best coffee shops in Brisbane, hands down, and that's not subjective. I believe that to be fact. So great coffee, great restaurants, very cosmopolitan, multicultural area with some of the best schools as well. We've got State High School, literally, I can see it through my window where I'm standing now, which is a government-funded school that's part of the GPS program, so part of the private school program. So you're basically getting one of the best educations in Queensland, and you're saving money on school fees, so you can invest it in your home or in the lifestyle here, which is fantastic. It's a huge draw card to our area here. One of the reasons why so many people move to our area here. So yeah, it's a pleasure to work in this particular area.
Perfect.
Now, Adam, that brings up a couple of topics really, which is around, obviously during your time of selling, you've lived through the GFC, but you've also lived through the Brisbane flood in your local area. Now, that severely affected your area and severely affected property prices in the West End area, because a lot of West End went underwater, didn't it, during that time? And a lot of people lost their homes or, had severe damage. So how did that affect real estate and the community in general?
I'll talk about the community first. It really actually brought the community together, which was a beautiful thing, and it's very much, I believe, the Australian way, that people help each other in times of need, which I think is a really beautiful thing. People came and volunteered from all over Brisbane and all over even Australia. Some people came to help during that time. Some of the streets that I've sold the majority of houses in, where I've sort of sold one and then sold another and then another and then another, a lot of those streets that have been bread and butter for my business, if you like, were very, very badly affected. They're the streets that were 1, 2, 3 streets back from the river. And essentially what happened was the stormwater drains were full and all the water came out. And some of those homes had water, these are double-storey homes, had water above their roof. And people were literally canoeing past roofs of 2-storey houses. That's how bad it was. in a lot of these streets. So it was an awful thing to see, and a lot of people had to basically start again. So they had to get all the mud out and get all the water out and then rebuild their homes. From a community point of view, everybody was brought together, and it was quite amazing to see, which was really beautiful. As I was saying before, it is a very connected area, and so that just increased that, I believe. From a real estate point of view, in terms of the values for these people's homes, so that was in 2011. There was probably 4 or 5 years, I think, before people kind of forgot about it, if you like. Every question that we had at an open home for those homes, once they'd been repaired and so on, and some that were put on the market, every buyer that came through would ask, has it been flood affected? And for some, or if not most, they would then be turned away. They weren't interested any further. And for others, they wanted to know what level the water came to. So some were actually still interested, but they wanted to know how high the water came. And some streets were just simply blacklisted from buyers for quite a while, for several years. So it came down to price for those people. They'd be prepared to take that risk. Their lifestyle is unquestionable. It's amazing to be next to the river and parks and everything. It's a beautiful place. But the worry was always there, is going to flood again. And then what's that going to do, to us in terms of having to pack boxes again and so on, as well as, things getting damaged, as well as, is there future capital growth here as well? Will the prices go up for these houses, or are they considered a too high a risk? So these are the things that we had to sort of work through with people. It was more of a stormwater drain problem than coming from the river. In fact, it was completely in our area. So we believe that's been fixed, and it's very unlikely that will ever occur again. But of course, it comes down to each buyer's risk versus reward interpretation, if you like. So, we can sell the lifestyle all day down there. So now we feel it's recovered, and prices, as we're seeing, are premium prices, huge money down there again. So it seems as though it just took a bit of time for people to kind of heal from that.
And as we said before, Adam, you are a superstar, and obviously living through that time helps you actually to build your craft. Because if a lot of people get out of real estate in those sort of times and those types of conditions. So it really says something about your resilience and your dedication to your area and your desire to be the best at what you are. Now, I know that on your website you spoke about your mum and being brought up by your mum, but I happened to find a photo, Adam, of somebody who looked a little bit familiar. So let me just share the screen. Now,
I love it when she does stuff like this.
Let's just share the screen and see whether there's a family resemblance there to another superstar.
There you go. There you go.
Well, long lost brother, maybe, hey?
I was thinking,
I will let you know our friends on Facebook Live are enjoying this. If you like it, send us some love, send us some smiles. We love it.
Might have to have a chat with my mum, see if she's met Francis Ford Coppola before.
That is good.
That's right, exactly. So go on. I'm sorry, Adam. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, it's usually Chuck Norris or David Guetta, so I'll take this. Thank you very much. Yeah. Nothing wrong with Chuck.
Adam used to have long hair as well, Bobbie, so he was also getting Jesus at one stage.
There you go. Okay, well, no pressure there.
No. I'd respond with, it's Chuck Norris, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about real estate. One of the reasons that we're here today, and Bobbie, you'll have a lot of questions around this, I'm sure. What I've asked Adam to do is give us an overview of the real estate, how the real estate process works for home sellers. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have a look at how Adam's process differs from, perhaps what's the norm in real estate at the moment, and, how he uses presentation, obviously, to stand out and as part of his process. Perfect. So do you want to tell us what the steps are, Adam? And Bobbie, you jump in at any time when you have a question.
You know me, I'm not shy.
Okay. So essentially, I'll get usually a phone call from a client who's thinking about selling, typically want to know the value of their home. We'll go out and have a look at their property is the first thing. So I'll have an idea of a price range where the property sits before I go there, because I know my trade area quite well, whether it's an apartment or a house. But one of the biggest factors is actually the presentation of the home, in terms of what we're going to achieve from a price point, basically. So it is really important to try and look at it from a buyer's perspective when you're a seller. Typically, sellers love things like rugs in a room, or certain things that really sort of tie the home together or make it warm for them, personal things. But sometimes the rug it will be something that we'd recommend that they take out so that we can see maximum floor space, for example. Kitchens that they've got knickknacks and all sorts of things all over the place. We often recommend that they remove those things and just have a few key pieces and so on. We really want to drum home that the property is no longer, it is a home, and we want to stress all the emotional parts of it as well through our copy and through our communication. But from a visual point of view, we sort of try to let our sellers know that they're now a product in a marketplace, and it's very important that it stands out for all the right reasons. So it's got to have a wow factor when they're walking through the home everywhere. So the first thing that we look at is whether they need any repairs or maintenance on the property. This is something that I get called in for regularly when I come to a property. They will typically, my clients will say, can you come and have a look at it and let us know if there's anything we need to do, or if there's anything we can do to improve the chances of getting a premium price. And so that's the first step usually. So we can say, if you leave it as it is right now, this is the sort of money you can look to achieve, or the likely price you'll get. But if we can do this and do that, if we can come in and actually furnish the home and have it looking stunning, looking at its absolute best, so that we've got that wow factor from room to room, then we're giving ourselves every best possible chance of getting a premium price. So, we look at everything. If it's a house, we'll look at lawns. We'll look at, corners. If there's any cracks in walls, they need to be puttied up and painted. We recommend doing a building and pest inspection on houses before we go to market, so that if there is, say, a moisture problem, or if there's a structural problem, or if there are live termites somewhere in the home, that all of these things can be fixed. And it's better to know about it beforehand. Put in a termite barrier plan, for example, moisture, fix the moisture problem beforehand, so that a buyer doesn't have any excuses to lose confidence and go elsewhere. So, if you've already got the buyer and you've negotiated the best possible price, you want to keep them. So all of these things from a property maintenance point of view and a structural point of view are best checked and looked at beforehand. And then it comes down to the cosmetic things that are very important as well. So, yeah, we'll look at these sorts of things. So I would call Tracey here in Australia, and I would get her to come in and quote on making the place have the wow factor. So we can often work with what's there in the property, and other times we'll recommend just to get rid of absolutely everything and start fresh and just have a stunning look all the way through. So that's usually the first meeting. If the client is happy with everything that I'm saying, then we'll come back and we'll further quote. So I then get Tracey to come in and have a look at the property, and we'll basically have a holistic quote that covers everything that we think is required to get a premium price. And I'll sit down with them and then put forward my proposal on how we're going to do that. If they're happy to go ahead, so we'll sign up the paperwork. I'll typically book in my photographer. So say Tracey comes in, styles the home on a Monday, I'll book in the photographer, the floor planner, the copywriter in on a Tuesday, and we will have everything edited and done by Thursday or Friday, and we can go live on a Friday online. We won't start our public open homes the next day. We will start them the following week. So we like to leave it a whole week where we can try and create a competitive environment. So we've got already inquiries coming, and we will, we'll have quite a busy open home. We do a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't see. So quite often I'll do on Facebook a secret listing, for example, where I'm talking about properties that are coming soon and so on, and I'll promote them that way. Then we'll already have 5, 6, 10 people ready to go before the property is even online. We do sell properties behind the scenes quite often. But what I like to do ideally is to have those people competing with the greater market, because as we know, the more buyers, the more offers, the more likely you're going to get a premium price. So it's really all about trying to create a competitive environment every single time you sell a property. That's what we do. So, and it all comes back, like I said, if it looks stunning online, you've got beautiful furniture throughout the place, if it's aspirational, it's somewhere that you'd want to live, if you're sitting in this beautiful couch and so on, looking through the lovely view through the window and everything, more people are going to come. So some people are more visual, some are more auditory. So we cover all of the aspects. So
do you play music in your listings?
In most properties I do. I used to carry a CD player around with me, and we had Shangri-La spa music.
Okay. There you go. There you go.
So we play quite relaxing kind of romantic evening music, if you like, chill out sort of music. We have sometimes lavender oil, or we'll spray something that creates a relaxing feel in the home and a nice fragrance. We do prep our clients well before, though, before they go to market. So I send out a letter, essentially what to expect and what we need to do from a presentation point of view. So things like having dryers not on during an inspection, not having a washing machine on, not cooking anything with strong fragrances beforehand. A lot of people don't think about those things. They think, oh, great, the open home's in 15 minutes, we'll just put the dryer on. And then the buyers come through, it's noisy, it's hot, it's dusty, it's not good. So, if you want to bake some bread or put some coffee on, that's preferred. That's a nice fragrance.
Well, I've got something to share from here. I live here in the South, here in America. I live here in the South. And I'm going to give this freely to everyone. If you follow me on Facebook at all, you will see the other night I posted up that I lived here 20 years, never cooked collards. So I was asking for collard recipes. And one person said, make sure you cook them outside because it's going to stink up your house. I thought, oh, come on. Oh my gosh, it's 4 days later and it still smells like collards. So for those of you in the South, no collards when your house is on the market, or kimchi. I've had clients with kimchi.
So
have you ever had that? Vegetables, Adam, just so you know, just so people in Australia know. I'm not exactly sure whether collards are a specific green vegetable that we don't have, Bobbie, or we call them something else, but they are a green leafy.
Yeah, it's like turnip greens, beet top. I mean, I don't know. See, I'm still learning. I looked at what collard meant because I had to know what to buy at the store. So, but I'm totally with you about the smells. I have a slightly different thought on smells here in the South. A lot of times because we're so moist, we have a lot of moisture. There can be mildew issues. So what I do is I recommend they don't put any fragrance in the house because that there's no smell. So we know that it's not being covered up because the mildew has kind of a sweet odor to it. So if you do the cookies or you do that kind of smell, that sweet smell covers. And I know I've had feedback here, probably because of the mold and mildew issues, that they'll wonder, what are they trying to cover up? So, so I guess it kind of, honest to Pete, if the house smells like collards and you put that spa smell in the air, you're going to have collard spa smell.
You're right. You're right.
So, and I've got another take on smells too, Adam, just while we're on the topic. I used to work for the Asthma Foundations of Australia, and so, smells and obviously things can trigger people's asthma. So I'm kind of keeping away from smells as well in my homes. But I have spoken to an aromatherapist about it. And one of the things we worked out is that you can probably put some smells around beforehand, just so that the vapor itself is actually dissipated before people come in,
Well, I do have another realtor here in this area that I love his assistant. And she said, that he has this special, and it's like a spa spray. So I smiled when you said that because I thought, there's more of you out there. And I guess every house that he does, he uses that special, and it's like a spa or I don't know, some sexy thing like that. And so that's not cookies and that's not those little plug-in things. So maybe that's magic. I'm open to trying things.
Me too. Whatever works.
Yeah. And I've got a question for you as you were talking there. you use the term selling a house behind the scenes. What does that mean? I don't know that term.
Okay, so I've got someone who works full time for me that just works with buyers at the moment. So when we get an inquiry on the main inquiry portal, which is realestate.com.au, people will call in and say, oh, what are the fees for this, or asking some more information about a building or a home. We find that most people don't really want to answer questions themselves. They just want to get their own questions answered. But the time to ask, if you are going to ask, is at that time when they're wanting something from us. So we'll then basically ask a whole set of questions so that we can really understand their needs properly. We find that later, if they are our buyer, then we understand exactly which buttons to push in terms of being able to achieve a premium price. But also what it does is we've got a list of all these people that we know specifically what they want. So we ask them, what do you want? What don't you want? Be as specific as possible. And we've got a long list of questions. So Trent from our team has a big folder full of these hot buyers that he knows exactly what they want. So if I then go and talk to someone, I get a call from a prospective seller and they say, oh, look, we're sort of thinking more 3-4 months away. I can ask them, if I've got a buyer on my books right now, is it okay if I bring them through? And if they say yes, then we may often sell a property to them, I say behind the scenes, because it's not on all of the different websites and so on. There's no marketing campaign. So we're just playing matchmaker here, if you like. And some people really like that because the seller doesn't have there's no stress, there's no open homes, there's no nothing. It's just basically nice and easy. And from a buyer's point of view, they're very appreciative as well because essentially they've bought it with what they perceive to be no competition or less competition, but they have to pay the right price for it. So everyone is happy. So
we have a term for that. We have a term for that here too. You know what what it is?
No.
It's called smart business. That's good. I like it.
No.
So, yeah, behind the scenes, I'm going to keep that one. Yeah.
And also with that, Adam, with the off-market sales, or that's another term that I've heard as well.
That's right.
Is that how many of those buyers are actually selling? I'd imagine there's quite a number of them that are going to be going on the market as well if they're in the process of buying.
Yeah, so that's right. So sometimes yes and sometimes no. So if you're selling an apartment, there is a possibility that if it's an older couple that they're downsizing from a home, from a big house, and they don't want the maintenance of a big house anymore. So that could become a prospective seller as well as a buyer. That's exactly right. So yeah, well said, Tracey. Yeah.
Can I also ask, Adam, just going back and perhaps, going a little bit more basic with regard to, so I'm 12 months, 18 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 3 weeks out from wanting to go on the market, and I've just made the decision. So how do I find you, or how do I start looking for an agent?
Okay, there's a number of interesting things happening. I think that how I would do it, probably if I was selling, I'd probably look on where all the listings are. So on a website like realestate.com.au, and just simply sign count digitally. I would have a look who has the listings, and then I would maybe make a list of three of the ones that have the most listings in the area, probably, and then I would go away and have a look at their profiles. Sometimes it's not how it seems, basically. There are some agents that actually aren't necessarily the best agent. They might have a lot of listings, but they mightn't be the best agent for you. There are some agents that have very large rent rolls, so they've gone and purchased property management businesses and they're building a large rent roll, and they're simply not great agents. All of their business is coming straight off their rent roll, and they're selling these investment properties, for investors that want to get out. And for them, they've got that long relationship where they've been in contact with them, and they're the only person that has been contacted to sell a home. So they're unopposed in the listing appointment. So there is one particular agent, I won't say that person's name, that comes up very highly on a rating website called Rate My Agent. And that particular agent comes up as number one in the area because, and this will happen among many areas, simply because they've sold the most amount of properties in that area and have the most reviews. But it doesn't actually take into consideration the prices that they've achieved for the client, how good their communication was, how long it took them to sell. There's a whole bunch of things there. So they can actually pick and choose which reviews they put on. So they can choose to not contact a seller and say, can you put your review online? So it's not always what it seems when you're doing it that way. So I think the best thing is to really, maybe look online, pick a few, or ask for recommendations from friends, family. Get a few people to come in. I think it's good to interview as many people as you like, even 5, 6, whatever you want, to get a feel for the agent. But the key thing is, I think a lot of agents, I'm not sure how it is, Bobbie, in the United States, but here in Australia, do you remember the game Show and Tell when you were a kid? Did you play Show and Tell? Yeah?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the agents here, and it might be the same in the US, I'm not sure, are probably more about tell than show, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of speaking about how good they are and chest beating and I'm the best and, you should list with me. And I think there's actually a lot of sameness with what people are offering, and they're not really demonstrating. I think the best thing is to have, if the agent can put some case studies forward, if they can maybe provide a list of phone numbers of literally the last 10 sales that you've done, and say, hey, give them a call. If the agent can sort of talk about what was the first offer on the property and what was the last offer where it's sold, and show the difference in terms of how good they are as a negotiator, I think, or even how many inspections it takes for them to get an offer, the inspection to offer ratio. If they're keeping tabs on these numbers and they can actually demonstrate those in an open home, I think that's, that would be the agent that I'd be interested in listing with, rather than someone who's just talking. So
inspections, does that mean viewings? Inspections mean we're checking out to see if the foundation is good.
No. So, like buyer inspection. So we might
like tour, when they tour the house?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
A tour. So whether it's a private inspection or someone who's come through an open home. So for me, it's every 4 groups that come through, I'll get an offer. That's the numbers in my business right now. For every 4 groups that will come through in inspection, I'll get an offer out of one of those 4. We keep tabs on, or we keep statistics. Basically, I've got a chart here on the left every week that we document this. So I know my numbers. Yeah.
That's good. I like what you were saying.
Sorry, Bobbie. I was just going to say, I'd love to be a fly on the wall on that chart, Adam.
Yeah. But I too, Adam, as you were talking about, some people talk, I like to think some realtors are really good at talking the talk, but not walking the walk.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's, especially now, there's so many canned, I'm wondering if it's the same way there in Australia, because so many times there are canned websites and just drag and drop. And it's like, there's nothing that many times what you see on the website does not necessarily reflect them, or they're playing with statistics. Because I had one realtor one time tell me, you can make your statistics say anything that you want them to. But when you get those testimonials and those names and numbers and you get those verifications, that elevates the whole thing. So I'm glad to hear that you do that.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing I would recommend is for anyone who's listening, if they're looking at hiring an agent in the US or here in Australia, if they are a part of a team, or even if they're just promoting themselves, to ask if there are any other team members and what their roles are and who's going to be doing what as well, which is very important. Again, here in our trade area, we get sometimes high-profile agents from different areas come in, and they have a reputation of, selling great homes, and they're very good at what they do. Sometimes they don't have the local product knowledge, and they simply don't succeed here when they're selling. In fact, all of the sort of hotshot agents, big profile, that have come here, I haven't seen one of them make a sale here yet, which is really interesting. They just don't have the product knowledge. And some of these guys are honestly the highest profile agents in Brisbane, and they just cannot perform here, which is really interesting. But I think the key is to ask who's doing what, because what we're saying is we see that person's name and then we see someone else's name on the sign. And what happens is that other person doesn't have anywhere near the experience or expertise of that lead person that the owner thought they were getting. And that person is then handling all of the inquiries and so on, probably doing the negotiating. And that is perhaps why the outcome that the owner wanted hasn't occurred. Yeah.
I love that, Adam, because it's something you don't really think about as a seller. Who's where in that process, and are most of the open homes being conducted by a junior or a, or a an assistant, someone who may not know the property or the market as well, and so there's a number of issues that you bring up there which are really good. One of the things we're trying to do here, Adam, and it's what you've been saying is brought it home to me too, is we don't want to be, Bobbie and I don't want to be regurgitating information that has been pulled off the internet and which may or may not be accurate or inaccurate, As we know, Dr. Google can diagnose a lot of things, but whether they're correct diagnoses or not, and that's why we're talking to you. We're also doing a Facebook, YouTube Live, which is all of those, the top 10 home improvement money spinners, for people to be able to find out what those steps are, as you were saying before, doing the maintenance, having those issues dealt with. And that's been fascinating, hasn't it, Bobbie, to talk to tradespeople on what to look out for.
Absolutely. It has been interesting. And every time I take away a nugget or two, and I like to think I'm impressing my clients, because the next day I'll say, oh, by the way, and I'll be able to talk, about something that we've talked with one of the experts. And it's great because I really do. I seek that knowledge out. And the people that I bring in and recommend here, I really do my best to, bring people who have high quality there. So, but in order to bring high quality to the table, I myself need to know just enough to be dangerous. So I know what to kind of watch for and to ask for as I'm bringing in vendors. So I love these opportunities like this.
And just so you know, Adam, as well, Bobbie is one of the top 10 home stagers in the US. And she's won awards over a number of years. She's a co-author of a best-selling Amazon book around home staging. And she's also training new stagers and training real estate agents in her local area on how to use home staging for business success. And that was actually how we came together, Bobbie, talking and I invited you over here to Australia, because one of the things I noticed, Adam, is that in Australia, a lot of agents don't understand how to use staging and how to use it well. They will, they'll get a stager in, but it'll be an arm's length process where it's kind of like getting an electrician in, or, there's something that needs fixing, so go and fix it. And it sounds to me like what you're saying with regard to staging is you're involved, you're part of that, you're part of the staging team and getting all of that prepared for the client.
Yeah, we are. We can't leave anything out. So everything has to be done perfectly to get, what our sellers want. So we've got to give ourselves every chance. So we have to do absolutely everything has to be spot on. So that the copy describing the property has to be spot on. It's got to understand who the target market is. The presentation has to be spot on. Your marketing, the agent's got to have a level of expertise in project managing the whole thing. And typically good agents will have a team of people that they really trust and know won't let them down, that do a great job. The photographer that I use, for example, I've been using him for since I started, and I don't want to use anyone else. He does photography for design magazines, for Bell and Home Beautiful and these sorts of things. He only looks after a handful of agents. And I just simply will not use anybody else because I know how good he is. The same with, furniture styling. Once you've had a great job and it looks absolutely perfect, you know that, and again, that you're giving yourself every chance. So, we have a team of contractors that we believe are the best in what they do. We're good at negotiating, we're good at marketing and advertising. But we use all the best people in their areas to make sure and, to put it all together basically to get the best outcome. So very
Adam, did you incorporate staging in your process from day one, or was it something that you developed over time?
Pretty much from day one, yeah. Because basically how I came into real estate, I did almost an apprenticeship, if you like, with probably, well, the highest profile agent in Queensland probably ever, and still maybe isn't right now, but was for a very, very long time. A very talented lady who was doing that for just about every property, nearly every single property. She typically sold the highest end properties in Brisbane. So they were, $1.5 to $5-6 million type properties back at that time, which was kind of a big deal for Brisbane back then. Now it's maybe not so much as prices have continued to go up. But yeah, she had typically clients that had very high-end furniture, and they were very high-profile people and very wealthy people that are used to telling other people what to do for a living. And she would come in and she would just say, "We're moving this, we're doing that, we're moving that out," and all this sort of thing. And with some people that she knew they'd be quite difficult, she would actually say, "Look, we're going to need to make some changes, and we're going to need to bring in some furniture and do this and that." And she'd make sure that she signed up the business first before she started giving the specific instructions, and then she'd say, "We're going to bring in a stylist," and then in she would come and she would make all the recommendations
to make those recommendations and give the vendors and give them everything before you got the signature on. I've actually seen that happen a couple of times. It's not good. It's not good.
No, so, I lost business once with that. Only once, fortunately. Yeah.
Well, we've got
it's a rookie mistake, as you say.
Exactly.
We've got actually 2 questions that have come up. So are you ready? You're like international questions, okay?
Yeah.
International.
Yeah, because I believe I've got 2 continents, because Trudy Diaz, she's asking the first question, and she's from over here in America. So Trudy.
Minnesota, Adam.
Yes, from Minnesota.
Just to check with you, Adam, too. It is 22:12 here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Are you happy to continue for a little while?
Sure. Yeah, we'd love to. Sure. Yep.
You having fun?
Yeah, I am having fun. Yeah.
Oh, good. So Trudy's wanting to ask, and then it actually segues over to another question I'll ask you right after this from Australia. So see, international. Trudy says, "Why are realtors so hesitant to use stagers? Why do you think they're hesitant to use a stager?"
Cost. I think often agents won't put forward the marketing plan or the staging or whatever it is, or fixing a crack in a wall, whatever, because they're scared that they might not get the business. If they say that, they're scared that they're going to be more expensive than the other people that the owner has spoken to. And that's completely the wrong way to look at it. It's all about return on investment. So, you might be perceived as the cheaper agent at the start, but really it's the end game that counts. So who's going to get you the most amount of money? So if we can sort of demonstrate that the properties that we've, for example, taken to auction, that we've staged, that we've got what the owner wanted every time or more, which is actually what has happened, then you're presenting an argument that the owner, if they're a rational person and they can afford to do the staging, should really consider. And if they can't, they should maybe put it on their credit card or ask friends or family. And that's how I view it with the marketing as well, is that you've got one shot to get it absolutely right. And, if you're a buyer and you're walking through a place that's empty or it simply just has really ugly old furniture and so on, it doesn't have a nice feeling when you're walking through, are you going to want to make an offer on that straight away versus if it looks absolutely stunning, it's marketed well, photos are stunning, which one are you going to go and have a look at if you're a buyer? So it's really the agent's job to communicate that to their clients, and they've got to really say, hey, it's about the end game. It's about return on investment. And
okay, so my understanding too is that you guys do the marketing dollars different. I mean, who pays for the marketing of the home? Because here we have, some different business models, but generally it's the realtor who pays for the marketing. So how do you guys have that set up?
Yeah, I watched some of your shows actually. $1 Million Agent and so on, and I've seen how you guys do that. So you typically take a much larger fee than us, but you pay for a lot of stuff up front. So overall, it's probably around the same. I think you guys get a little bit more than us, but overall, it's quite similar. Here, typically, the client they call it vendor paid advertising. So VPA is the sort of name within the industry. We really encourage our clients to pay for that. It's their, I think it's their. Well, we believe it's their duty to do so. We don't get paid.
I just explain something, Adam. I'm sorry to cut in. In the US, they call their tradespeople vendors.
Right.
So the suppliers of the services are vendors in the US. So I'm just explaining, because Trudy's from Minnesota, that that vendor paid advertising, a vendor here is the home seller. Correct. So when we talk about VPA, vendor paid advertising, it's actually the home seller pays for that. So I'm sorry, please go on.
No, thank you. That's good for clarifying that. So essentially, as agents, we don't get paid unless we produce a great outcome for our clients. So we call it a success fee, if you like, if you want to be clever about it. It's our commission.
Okay, there you go. I like the power of words. That's good.
So, yeah, we do have sometimes clients that ask us, well, would you pay for it, and so on. And what I learned early in my career is that sometimes clients will change their mind about their circumstances, and you may get a premium price 30, 40 grand above what they told you they wanted, and their circumstances may change. Suddenly the job that they had in another state doesn't come through and they want to stay in the home and so on. And it's a very high risk for an agent, I believe, to be paying for the marketing themselves. I think it's important for the seller as well to be invested in the process, given that we give our time for free until an outcome is produced that they're happy with when they sign on the dotted line. So, so I think the higher that proposed marketing schedule is, and the more money you're asking for the vendor, the more, or should I say the lower it is, the more attractive it is to most people. But to an educated person or to any person, if you can describe to them and show them the value in these things and communicate to them that it's in their interest to do so, to spend more money on marketing, to market it properly, to have it presented properly, then I find most people will actually pay the money and be happy to do it, in fact. So it's really about us communicating better. There's no argument that if you're marketing the property better and it looks better, that it's going to be more attractive to people. You cannot argue with that. So it's really how we communicate to our sellers, about these.
I encourage folks who are listening tonight to go and look at you call them FAQs, your FAQs, because the way that you present and explain your negotiation style and your results and things, I think were just spot on. Like I told you, I wish I could have 8 of you here. Because
I'll put that underneath the video, Adam, so that people have a link to your frequently asked questions.
That'll be perfect. So then that gets us back to Australia, where I'm asking a question for Karina Neal. And she says, hi, Adam.
Hi, Karina.
What could a new staging business do to convince someone who uses an exclusive staging business to give them a try as well?
Okay. So there's a client already using someone else and she's trying to attract that client as well. I probably would start documenting, because I'm big on case studies, I'd start documenting the before and afters. I'd try and ask the agent what they were looking for in terms of the likely price and so on, and see where it ended up as well. I would try and get a testimonial, ideally a video testimonial from the client as well, at the end, if they were happy with the furniture, with the way it dressed as well. I think the before and after is a big one. It's hard when you've got someone that you're using, when an agent has someone that they really love and they don't want to go elsewhere because they're very happy and they've got that consistency with them. I think a soft way or a nice way to enter that would be simply, look, if that I understand that you've got a great relationship with that person and I don't want to interfere with that if you're happy with them. I would like, for you to consider another option. Perhaps if the person that you want to use is not available on the day that you need them, or if they're going on leave at some stage, I could be your backup person there. I think that's a nice way to start, because you're not sort of interfering with the relationship, but it's an opening. That actually has happened with me. I had a copywriter that I used for a long, long time, and I got approached by another one exactly like that. And then funnily enough, the other one ended up moving overseas for a year. And I sort of thought it was the end of the world when she said she was going to be leaving. And I thought, okay, well, I'll ring this other person, I'll give her a go. Well, guess what? She's absolutely amazing as well, and I'm very happy using her. So that might be one way to do it. That's a bit soft. It's not a hard sell, and you never know. Some people might respond well to that. They may secretly have had enough of the other person. or not, or they're just thinking, yeah, let's have a look. If the price point is better, they might, if they're price conscious, they might look at that as well. Another way might be to say that you've got a specific area that you really specialise in. So it might be high-end homes, or it might be, it might be apartments, whatever it is, and you can go in and say, look, maybe we can help you with the apartments or with the houses, whatever it is, whatever the specialty is. So that might be another option as well.
Well, I like that you say, come up alongside and say, hey, just if you ever need backup, I want you to know I'm here. But another thing too is that I like to say to stagers as well, understand if you go up to a realtor and you, let's say, get them away maybe from someone that they've worked with in the past due to your price only, understand if they'll do it with you, they'll do it to you. So there's always going to be somebody else that comes along and will offer it for less. So what I love is when I run into a realtor who has loyalty to, another stager, I respect that. And the fact that they will say that to me actually then puts that staging company on my radar, is to find out more, so that if I have too much business, I can't handle it, you know what, maybe I should consider calling them. So it can be a win-win-win situation all the way around. But remember, they'll do it with you. They will do it to you.
The other thing I noticed with what you said, Adam, too, was about the relationship building. And I think, Karina, when you're looking at starting out and you're looking at how do I build my business, there are short-term wins and there are long-term, if you're in it for the long haul, and, I guess that's business, you have to decide if your business is dependent on immediate gains and therefore you're going to drop your price to make those gains, it can be harder to climb up later. But one of the things that I've done and I've recommended for a while, and I thought I better join, was my local business networking group. And what that means is that I have 40 advocates for my business in my networking group. So as someone starting out, it's a great way to learn about business. It's a great way to learn about deep relationships in your local community. It's also a great way to learn to have that accountability, because they will teach you very quickly if what you're doing works within your community. And I know you live in a small community. You've already got some of that going on where a lot of the people in your local area, but get to know the business people in your local area, start building relationships with them, start referring them, start giving them good quality referrals, because that's going to make a difference. You may find that the real estate agent in your group doesn't use staging yet, and they may not for the first year that you're in the group. But it's really, this is where you're doing your training and learning about business and about how to find those referrals.
And I had another thought too. So Adam, if I came to you and said, hey, Adam, I have a home staging business and I would love to work with you in all this. And you said to me, well, actually I have somebody that I work with already that I'm really happy with. Maybe the follow-up question would be, well, is there someone else in your office who you think would like to talk with me? And then that way you can spread the love.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
Yeah, and then the other realtor is not going to be booking your stager when you're needing them, your Adam stager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because there's offices that I work in. I'm not the only stager in the office, and that's okay, because you can't work with everybody. And there's going to be certain realtors that you really click with. Those are the realtors I look at it as a relationship of who we can both build our business on. If there's someone personality-wise or your business models don't match, it may not be a fit for you anyway. So just ask them, is there anybody else you think that might like to talk with me?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Tracey, can I just say one thing about price? Just after Bobbie spoke, honestly, when we've done home styling, price hasn't come into it at all. So I would say to just back yourself and be confident with what you're putting forward. I think the client wants to see their property look as best as possible. So it's better not to hold back at all, I believe. It's definitely better to put forward everything that you think is necessary, And then the owner can always say, hey, we might go with all of that, but not that. In most instances, my clients just say, yep, we'll just go with it. Exactly what the stylist says. There's a very high level of trust there as well. So I think it's important to put forward exactly what you recommend and not take any shortcuts. So price is it's usually not a factor once the client is sold on the idea or the process. Yeah.
So with your process, do you initiate the staging idea and then you bring your stager in to talk with them too, or they go, you just make it such a strong part of your process that they understand that if they sign with you, that's part of the process? Is that how that works?
Yes. So it depends on the property. So there's one that's actually coming up. We're photographing in a week, and that basically it just didn't have the wow factor in it at all. I actually sold it to them a few years ago, and it did have the wow factor then. And so when I walked in, I was almost in shock, really, because the lounge room looked half the size. It was the way they had presented it. They had a big black piano, which made it look darker and took up room, and there was all sorts of things that we could do to work, like working together, all of us, to make it look absolutely stunning again. So with that particular property, I did actually sell them on the idea first, and I sort of had an idea of how it would look and everything, and talked them through that, and they definitely approved. They said, yes, that's something that we need to do. I said, okay, I'm going to organise, for Tracey to come in, then we come back, and basically, Tracey then quoted on everything, and they just basically said yes, so let's go with it. So that's simple. I came with Tracey, though. We both look at the property together. That's an important thing as well, because I've got a very clear idea of what I think we need to do. But then Tracey can say, actually, yes, I agree, we need a couch there, but it needs to be lower down. It needs to be a very slimline couch so we can see straight through to the river view. So Tracey's got a level of expertise there that goes far beyond what I do. So it's important that we work together to create that wow factor, basically, to use a better word. Yeah.
I do love that, the wow factor. Yes.
And are there any more questions out there before Adam has to leave us? I'm feeling like, Adam, we have to get you back sometime soon to have a good chat, even if we look at segmenting some of these topics and really deep diving, because I know Bobbie has this great information around real estate romance shots. They're not actually of the staging, which is what, I always get my photographers to photograph my staging. But Bobbie takes great photos of the wood floors, the countertops, where's the money in the fixtures, which is actually what we're selling. So, there's some great topics that I think, we're all singing from the same songbook.
There you go. Yeah, my real estate romance shots. Those are those close-up babies, Mr. Neil, I'm ready. I'm staged and ready from a close-up. So, yeah, that would be fun sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'd love to come back. Thank you.
Got it.
And Bobbie and I are actually co-authoring a book this year, and that's Bobbie's topic is real estate romance shots.
Yes.
So she'll be talking around that. But also, Adam, you have been #1 in Australia for, for certain groups that you've worked with in real estate. What's your advice to, I suppose, real estate agents who are looking to get into the business as well? What would be your top 3 for them as far as, how to either set up their business, use staging, or find their team?
Wow. That's a good question.
Just a small
we could have started tonight with that one.
Oh, boy. So what would I recommend to someone wanting to enter the industry? I'll just put on someone, actually, who's behind me, who's listening. I can see. I can feel him listening. I think you have to have the right attitude, and you've got to do your homework, is what I would say. Is really, really important. But for me, I generally will hire over attitude, or attitude over skill set, because skill set can be taught. So with Trent, who's behind me, I think he's got a fabulous attitude. And he's very enthusiastic. He's very keen to learn. he comes from a background, actually from a military background, so he's, things like loyalty and hard work and things are very instilled in him in where he comes from. So for me, all of those things were very good, because we're very disciplined here in sort of following through with our process step by step. If you miss one thing, it affects everything, so we can't miss anything, basically. So I think he fits into the culture here, which is really important. But for someone starting off new, I don't know, it's a difficult one, but basically the most important is that you like the brand that you're going to, I think, and that you like, probably the principal or the, some of the other people maybe in the company as well. I would be looking at their websites and saying, what their values are, what they stand for, how they're going in the marketplace and so on. For me, when I decided to come to this area where I'm working, there was a lot of sort of agencies that were doing really well, but I just didn't like their marketing, to be honest. I didn't find it attractive at all. It looked outdated and so on. And so for me, I've got a real value for things that are beautiful and not in a superficial way. That can be nature, it can be your child's smile, it can be anything, but I do like beautiful brands as well. And so marketing is something that I take a lot of pride in, coming from an advertising background. And so I like the brand that I'm in. I also like the people here and the culture and everything as well, which is important. But for me, it was actually, I sort of secret shopped all the principals that were potential agencies for me to go to. And I basically just pretended I was a buyer walking around. And I did get a real feel for which ones had great energy and which ones didn't. And I basically gravitated towards the one that I liked the most. So, yeah, that was my process. I hope that helps. I'm not sure if it did or not.
No, there you go. Everybody's journey. It's like if we share our stories, it's like there's somebody sitting on the sideline who has those same thoughts and they're just not sure. But to hear that, especially Shelley Giffen, she's someone else who joined us this evening, and she said, I love that attitude over skill set. Skill set can be taught. And when you said that, I thought that needs to be a little meme that goes out, because it's so very true. I get people who, they have the book knowledge, but their attitude, is just terrible. So I would much rather, I'm like, preach it.
Well, on that note, Adam, thank you so much for preaching it this morning. Yes. It's been fantastic. And I think, we're certainly fangirling here over your, your amazing skills, your wonderful attitude and your approach to your business. And I'd just like to say thank you to Lorena, another great agent, Marie, Trudy, Karina, Shelley, everyone who's joined us today to listen to Adam and to hear those questions that Adam has answered. And obviously, if you have more, we want more questions for Adam so we can invite him back. Yes. And he can share some more knowledge with us.
That'd be perfect. So
thank you. Lovely to meet you, Bobbie, as well. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Adam. Look, now I know another new Australian. Look at me. I'm getting so international.
I'll have to come and visit.
Oh, yeah. That's planned. That's planned.
8th of the 8th, 18, Adam. I think we might have to invite you on stage with us as well to help train stagers down here on the Gold Coast. We might as well do it in paradise.
Sure.
And,
I'll force myself to come.
And we'll do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do an immersion. So it'll be a home staging immersion. And we're hoping to invite real estate agents to help them understand, home sellers to help them understand, and obviously people who are looking at either staging their own homes or learning the information, as well as people who are looking for staging as a business and an industry to be part of. So,
right. Wonderful.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the live stream now, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Next Thursday, we've got Julie Davis joining us. Mm-hmm. Adam knows Julie well, so does Bobbie. Julie is a top real estate trainer here in Australia. Mm-hmm. And Julie's going to be talking about personality types and how your personality type affects you. So
perfect.
That's going to be great. All right. Thank you, Adam, and see you later. And thank you.